Mr. Ben Robshaw, Chairman of the Board, members of the Board, Mr. Rick Appison, Administrator, guests, employees, associates, friends of the Villa Saint-Joseph-du-Lac. In November 2000, I was here to celebrate the 40th anniversary of foundation of the Villa. Maybe some of you were here too, maybe not. Today we are living a time of transition. We are looking forward for a new building, a new beginning, and at the same time we want to pause and look at our history. In order to better enter the future, it is important to connect with our roots. For a tree, it is the roots that ground the tree, that allows the tree to get the water and the nutrients it needs to grow. In the same manner, to look at our roots will help us to be grounded and nurtured. While I go over the different events that have been your story, I invite you to listen and at the same time try to see what has been the underlying values that have prompted the people and the sisters to commit themselves to such an endeavor. Ask yourselves what they really wanted. What was so important for them that they decided such and such actions? In doing so, you will reach your roots and you will find out the richness of the Villa Saint-Joseph story, and you will find the richness of your own story. It works. First, I'm going to make a little detour, and we'll start by looking very briefly at the history of the religious hospitallers of St. Joseph Congregation. You probably all know that our congregation was founded in France in 1636 by a layman, Jérôme Le Royer de la Dauversière, father of 5 children. His inspiration was to found a new congregation to take care of a hospital in La Flèche in France, and to go to New France in order to open a hospital on the island of Montreal, who was not yet founded. It was founded a few years later in 1642. 3 sisters left France in 1659 to cross the ocean by boat and get to the island of Montreal to be with Jean Mance, the first lay nurse in North America. Together, they would take care of the sick. Almost 300 years later, in 1958, 3 sisters left Bathurst in New Brunswick come to Yarmouth to take care of the elderly. These 3 sisters were Mélanie Lavoie, Yvonne Hubert, and Claudia Toussaint. The fact that the congregation was founded by a layman had an impact on the mission and charism of the congregation. This heritage we have tried to pass on to the institutions founded by the congregation. This heritage has been yours for more than 50 years. Lay people have been our collaborators since the early beginnings of the congregation. Let's start now with the first 6 years of your story. Sister Mélanie Lavoie was the first administrator. The sisters arrived in Yarmouth in 1958. They had accepted the invitation of Bishop Leménager to come to operate a home for the elderly. The sisters first operated a home from the old Evangeline Hotel, which had been purchased by the diocese for a temporary home. With the first three sisters came Miss Evelyn Duguay from Lamec. On November 1st, 2000, Sister Lavoie, who was then 100 years old, was interviewed about these early beginnings. She recalls how during the first year, the people were concerned that the sisters would get bored and they would go away. People did all they could to be present to the sisters in different ways. One example, the parish priest from Wedgeport asked his parishioners to send some vegetables for the winter. They came with 3 trucks loaded with potatoes, turnips, carrots, and the woman had added some pickles. Isn't that nice? And Sister Lavoie remembers that they had enough to last all winter. Yes, the people were good, very good to the villa. The first resident was Willis Sidmore. He was admitted October 20th, 1958. On November 9, the official opening of St. Joseph Home took place with the mayor, ecclesiastical dignitaries, and a few hundred people in attendance. The fact that so many people came says a lot about the commitment of the population to the success of this endeavor. The home had a capacity of 17 beds. They were increased to 27 in October 59 by the renovation of a small house located on the property. In these early days, the women of the Catholic League were particularly present. Among many other things, they did all the curtains in the home. Listen to the dates here. On April 1st, 1960, the Canadian Pacific Railway advertised the sale of their summer resort hotel, Lakeside Inn. This tourist resort, situated in Dayton, just outside Yarmouth, and bordering the lovely Lake Milo, was a large estate on which the building was surrounded by beautifully landscaped grounds, making it one of the most scenic spots in western Nova Scotia, an exclusive spot where the elderly could spend their last years in beauty and tranquility. I took that description somewhere. Isn't that exactly what it still is? The deed was signed and the property was paid on April 19, same year, by the provincial superior, Sister Martyr, and the provincial treasurer, Sister Alice Alain, known as Sister St. George. With the help of Sister Sarah in Bathurst, we have found out in the archives that the value of the property was $500,000. Well, the sisters and the diocese didn't have that amount of money for sure. But the Canadian Pacific Railway generously gave the property to the sisters for the elderly for the sum of $108,000, which was quite a gift. Following minor renovations, the 18 residents from Evangeline Home were transferred in their new home on May 6, same year, with the official opening August 15. Approximately 400 people attended the important event. The name given was what it is now, Villa Saint-Joseph du Lac. When you look at the dates, what do you see? April 1st, the hotel is on sale. April 19, the deed is signed, and May the 6th, the residents are moved. Smart people. It says a lot about the generosity of Canadian Pacific Railway for sure, and also the leadership of the people in Bathurst, but here too, on site. In a presentation she made in 1963, Sister Lavoie recalls this important acquisition. Let us see what she had to say. In acquiring the Lakeside Inn as a home, we have been both fortunate and unfortunate. Fortunate because we have acquired a beautiful property. The building was built as a high-class hotel with a large lobby, a gallery, and a spacious dining room. And this is the dining room, and if you look at it, it's still lovely. All the rooms have a private bath. The grounds are lovely and permit the guests to stroll freely to enjoy the fresh air and a beautiful scenery. But, she adds, we have been unfortunate. The inn was built as a summer resort, so we had to winterize it at a tremendous cost. The building is getting old and in need of repairs. The plumbing, the kitchen equipment, including the stove, has to be replaced. After 32 years, plumbing is being totally replaced. A few other facts. On October 21st, 1960, the number of residents reached 48, and the rate per month was, if you want to guess, 300? $55. Some have checked. $55 a month. In 1960, Sister Lucienne Thomas arrived at the villa and stayed until a few years ago, 2010. The villa was incorporated by an act of the Legislative Assembly on March 13, 1961. During that year, Sister Marthe Albert came and stayed for 15 years. In 1963, there was 55 guests, 9 unpaid sisters, 22 persons on the payroll among the personnel. And Sister Lavoie says that if the sisters had been paid at the rate they are qualified for, they would run an operating deficit of approximately $2,000 a month. To put that into perspective, I have checked on the internet and have found out that in 1963, a gallon of gas was how much?
30 cents.
29 cents. Well, maybe the 29 is United States, I'm not sure. A loaf of bread was
10 cents.
22 cents. Average year income was $5,807, but that could be American money, I don't know. So that says a lot, though. Let's continue to listen to Sister Lavoie's presentation. She's describing the life here, and she says, our doors are open to everyone, regardless of race, color, or creed. We respect everyone's belief and permit the minister, as well as the priest, to visit the patients. We have no visiting hours. Every hour of the day and evening is visiting hour. I checked with Evangeline and she told me it's still like that. The guests have the right to bring their visitors in their rooms, to let them visit the house and meet their friends. Our home is their home. We do not choose our guests. We accept them as they come. Some are fairly well off due to their savings or they have an income. These pay the full charge of their accommodation. Others are really poor and homeless and depend mostly on their old age pension to live on. But we make it a point to greet them all with the same attention, the same love, and the same care. When I say we, I mean all the members of the personnel, religious and non-religious. I know it's still like that. That does not mean we overlook their previous status in life, a career, an important position in the world. Our main concern is to help them to live as normal a life as possible, according to their situation and to our means, of course. We realize that most of those who come to the villa are convinced that they come here to die. With this in mind, we try to understand them and do all in our power to make them feel secure and as happy as possible, and to prepare them gradually and with kindness for their passing out of this world. We are not yet considered a nursing home, though 3 of our sisters are graduate nurses and 4 are auxiliary nurses. Our guests look forward every month to the Catholic Women League birthday party in honor of those who have their birthday during the month. The party consists in a sing-song or a bingo, followed by a delicious lunch served by the ladies of Catholic Women League. The villa is a happy home and has a warm family spirit. End of quotation. So if you look at that, I'm sure you're seeing all the values that the first sisters that were here, but the first employees too, have put into this house. 1964 to 1969, Sister Anne Lizette was administrator. She came back later and was at the villa for 10 more years, so she's been here for quite a while. As early as 1964, it was felt more beds were needed for the residents. The sisters were occupying some of the rooms on the 3rd floor of the north wing. The congregation therefore decided to build on an additional floor on this wing to accommodate the sisters. This was completed in 1964. In August 1965, a lay advisory board was organized and bylaws prepared. That's the first board. The first meeting was held on September 27, 1965, and Mr. Irving Pink was elected first chairman. This newly formed advisory board was instrumental in obtaining a substantial grant, $72,000, towards the capital cost of the 1964 addition on the North Wing. In 1965, Sister Annette Bugeaud came as finance director and stayed at the villa for 17 years. January 1st, 1966, the Department of Health granted a nursing home license to Villa Saint-Joseph-du-Lac. Sister Lizette organized the Ladies Auxiliaries in 1967. Mrs. Bishop was appointed first president. Their special yearly event was the Villa Tea. They had also bake sales and craft sales to help finance special articles like draperies for the lobby and chairs for the residents' rooms. They also loved to come and entertain the residents on special occasions. 1969, the water pipes throughout the villa were replaced. So life continues. In 69 to 75, we had two different administrators, Sister Zilka Deg for 2 years and Sister Marie Germaine for 4 years. In 1971, a minister from the various denominations started coming to the villa for a church service once a month. They used to come before for visitation, but then they come for a church service. In July 71, a sewage plant was installed. A grant of $16,000 was received from the government to pay for the installation, surely again with the help of the advisory board members. In 1972, the first formal personnel policies were prepared by Sister Diane. Employees received additional benefits and worked a 40-hour week instead of the previous 48-hour week. Can you imagine that? In 1973, a craft club was organized for the residents by Sister Lucienne Thomas. Money raised and was used for recreational activities for residents. The first lay nurse was hired in July 1974. 75 to 79, two other administrators, Sister Julienne Cormier for 1 year and Sister Jeannette Thériault for 3 years. In September 1975, a treasure and trifle sale was held, sponsored by the Ladies Auxiliary, and the proceeds amounted to $1,600. Part of the money was used to buy a colored TV for the lobby. And I was told that that colored TV is on the 4th floor. So it must have been quite a good TV. A new regulation whereby all residents were to be assessed by the public health nurse every 6 months became effective early in 1976. In 1976, also, the villa hired its first director of nursing, Sister Estelle Masra. 1976, Sister Anne Marie Doucette is working in the kitchen. She was at the villa for 17 years. Some of you probably remember her. And December 76, straight shifts were established for all employees. In 1977, the kitchen was completely renovated and a cafeteria was organized for the staff. Sister Agnès Como arrived in 1977 and was here for 33 years. For the first time, the villa is covered at that time, 1975 probably, is covered by registered nurses on a 24-hour basis. Prior to this, the sisters were on call. 79, Sister Yvonne Thibodeau came to work in nursing and was here for 25 years. Sister Estelle Arsenault arrived in 79 and was administrator for 18 years. I don't know if she was the one who made that particular contract for the...
Yes, it was.
She was? Oh, interesting. I almost recognized her. The members of the board continue to be very supportive of the mission of the villa. From 1979 to 1989, Sister Cécile Dufour was financial director. Marie-Thérèse Haché arrived in 1978 and worked as a nurse for 10 years, and then because of health problems, she had to work part-time, and she's probably remembered by some of you for her Cabbage Patch dolls, which was, I heard, quite a success. She was at the villa for 19 years. Evangeline Poirier came in 1981, but she didn't stay. I don't know why. She was here only for a year, and it took years and years before she finally came back in 2008, I think. But she doesn't seem to want to go, though. In 1985, Mrs. Mary McKinnon was the first lay nursing director, and she was in office for almost 12 years. She left in 2004, I think. In 1985, Sister Imelda Lizat organized a group of volunteers to drive and assist residents who had to go to hospital, stores, or dental or medical appointments. 1985, Sister Alphonsine Leblanc arrived in Yarmouth. She will soon have spent 30 years in the villa. She's like a picture of the villa. And she probably enjoyed every moment of all those years, except the first month, I was told. She had to get adjusted. In 1985, there are 79 residents in the villa, 45 English-speaking and 34 French-speaking. And their age rate is 82.4 years. In 1991, with monies received as bequest from two residents, a van was purchased for the use of the residents, and additional services were made available for the North Wing. During these years, I don't know the exact date, but there happened here the first employee strike. Some of you certainly remember, which says something about the increasing complexity of relationships with employees and unions. 1995 to 2001, Roy Smith was administrator. He was the first lay administrator at the villa. He had worked for quite a while as finance director with Sister Arsenault. He was well prepared to make the transition. In 1995, Mrs. Judy Bonalfant replaced Mr. Roy Smith as director. As director of the accounting office. I find it amazing to see how people would stay. I think it's touching, really. There was another employee strike during these years in 1999. And during Roy's mandate in 2001, the congregation made another step in passing the flame to lay people by transferring all its institutions to Catholic Health Partners, whose mission is to ensure the presence of Catholic values in their corporations. And you belong to them since 2001. 2002 to 2005, Barry Grenter was administrator. He was only 3 years as administrator. During his mandate, Mrs. Sharon Houston was appointed director of nursing. Last but not least, Mr. Rick Atchison is administrator since 2005. In 2007, 8 residents had to be moved to other homes because of fire security reasons. August 1st, 2008, I read that on the internet again. The Department of Health made the announcement that the Villa Saint-Joseph-du-Lac will be replaced in 2008. That was the announcement. The new facility was expected to be completed in 2011. The replacement of the home is necessary because of the age and layout of the present facility and because of the changing needs of the residents who generally require more complex care. This declaration was made 6 years ago. And it's certainly your thinking that this bold new project will anchor the position of the villa in the community for the 21st century. And it will come soon. On September 2010, the 50th anniversary of the foundation of the villa was celebrated. 2012, the cottages are demolished. Rick Atkinson, administrator, and Mark Jacquard from the kitchen have both followed the program for Catholic leadership with Catholic Health International. And the administrator has a program to recognize the employees who put into practice the values of the villa. And we've heard that tonight, so. I have already quoted from a presentation made by Sister Mélanie Lavoie in 1963. In that speech she made, here is her conclusion. The villa is a happy home and has a warm family spirit. We have to put in a lot of love and a lot of care, but this is in the line of our dedication to Christ, whom we serve in each and every one of our dear guests. This was in 1963, 51 years ago. What about now? You know the answer, and I do too. I wish we could hear many of the employees tell us their story. What is so important for them, for you, that you are working here? What is so important that the board members accept to give time regularly for the good of the villa, for the residents? What is so important that you come to work here with renewed energy every day? 35 sisters have worked at the villa since the beginnings, and among them 10 were here for more than 15 years. But many employees have been here for more than 15 years, for more than 30 years, for more than 40 years. I've met some of them yesterday. I wish we could name them all. These employees are here because they love the guests, they love their residents, they have respect for their families, for their co-workers. They have a sense of the person. They want the patient to be at the center of all decisions. What really gives meaning to what we do? This question is worth asking ourselves every Monday morning or every morning. The source of that meaning may be found in our roots, in the history of the foundation of this institution, in the values that have been developed throughout the years. The source of that meaning is also found in each one's personal story, our family story, the values our parents have passed on to us. Looking at the history of this institution, we have seen certain dominant values. I will name a few. First, the importance given to the resident. The sisters have a faith vision when they look at the patients or the residents. We have been taught and we believe strongly that Jesus is present in the person we serve. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. I know that you share that too. Second, family spirit. Among the residents and the staff, a desire to help one another among the personnel, the families, and the population of the area in general. Third, acceptance of everyone, whatever his capacity to pay, which implies making no difference among the residents, whatever finance, his education, his color, his health, religion, language, capacity to respond. Fourth, respect for the employees and concern for their well-being. Fifth, collaboration between different groups, dioceses, priests, municipalities, lay movements, employees, residents, sisters. In a context of financial restraint, it is more difficult to think about progress. All the energies are focused sometimes on keeping what has already been achieved. But what is constant in the villa, even during difficult times, has been the struggle to give quality care to all residents. In order to achieve quality of care, having financial resources is not enough. You know that. The competence of all people in the institution is a must, and these competent personnel have to be gifted with a kind and generous heart. There is something very unique in taking care of the elderly. These elderly persons are getting more and more fragile, and they need an environment where they can trust their caregivers, where their needs are met, and where they can still enjoy life. I know the Villa St. Joseph personnel has that kind of qualities. Right? I know that the residents are happy, that they feel secure, respected, and loved by the personnel. I know that the personnel is attentive to the persons and desirous to offer the best conditions with dignity and security. In conclusion, I want to thank the board members for their commitment to the villa and to the residents. I want to thank the employees, those who have been here, those who are still here, and those who will come, for all their efforts in order to render the villa a place where the residents and their families and friends feel at home. Thank you for your respect for the person, for the efforts you put in trying to know personally each person, for being interested to what really matters to them at this precise moment or in their life. Thank you for what you do to help them keep or develop their autonomy. Thank you for respecting their dignity in spite of the diminishments due to age or sickness. Thank you for the pastoral service offered to all according to their needs and their wish. May the Lord bless you in your work with a climate of trust and collaboration. May the Lord bless all residents who are here now and all those who will be admitted in the future. Thank you.
As all of us present here know, we are well on the way to completion of our new facility, which will serve our community for the present and certainly well into the future. And even though the future is very exciting for all of us, it's very appropriate that we reflect on our past. And after hearing Sister Anne Marie, certainly on the dedication and sacrifice of the sisters. And they have gotten us to where we are today, and we are certainly in their debt for that. Sister Anne Marie, your presentation was certainly appropriate and certainly timely given where we are today. And we thank you for taking the time to grace us with your presence And if you could come forward, I'd like to present to you a small token of our appreciation from the board, the staff, and the guests. Thank you.